So, hello everyone. This is the Circular Economist here, bringing you another video, in-depth research and analysis. I am an expert in circular industrial economy, sustainability, and specialize in environmental education and complex economic system theory. I wanted to give you a short disclaimer in the beginning that you know that this video is for educational purposes only. And with that said, I wanted to give you a short overview of the topics we're going to discuss today. So, first we're going to recap the topics that we discussed in the last video. I've given you the definition of sustainability and the real-world historic examples with the forest and the trees. Also, I wanted to refresh your memory about the linear logic inherent in most of the economic systems today and the take-make-waste principles on which they are based, which you can see in this graphic. We will then answer the questions of why this is not sustainable and what resource extraction and waste generation has to do with environmental concerns on the planet. After that, you will understand the bigger picture underlying our current mode of operation on a global scale. So, the consequences of the linear logic. We're now going to dive further into the linear logic and answer the questions of why the system is inherently not sustainable and is lacking a fundamental attitude of caring. Moreover, I'm going to give you insight into the facts and figures so that you really understand the big picture of how resources are extracted on a global basis. So, we start at the beginning. Finite resources, resource extraction, the take part. So how much material did we as a collective on a global scale extract from the natural environment in the last decades? We can see here stated by the UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Programme, in the Global Resources Outlook 2019, that from 1970 to 2017, the annual global extraction of materials more than tripled from 27 billion tons in 1970 to 92 billion tons in 2017. Those figures actually are written here in this part. At an annual average growth rate of 2.6%. So from 27 billion tons or 27 gigatons in 1970 to 92 billion tons or 92 gigatons in 2017, that is an increase of about 241%. Plus, in contrast to widespread perceptions, global material productivity has not improved over the last 20 years. An important part here, and I quote from the article, that the extraction and processing of natural resources alone cause over 90% of global biodiversity loss and water stress, and more than half of global greenhouse gas emissions. We're going to come back to that since this relates to the reintegration and the generation of waste, but that's what I wanted to give you in the first place. So to verify those numbers, I took the time to find another report on material extraction on a global basis, which is a little more up to date. The chart and information calculated in the Circularity Gap Report 2022 by Circular Economy from the year 2022 describes the following. In only 50 years, global use of materials has nearly quadrupled. In 1972, the world consumed 28.6 billion tons. By 2000, this had gone up to 54.9 billion tons, and as of 2019, it surpassed 100 billion tons. Now let us dive into another important question, which is the reintegration rate of material circularity. So how much of those resources that we're extracting from finite resources from planet Earth are actually coming back? So what percentage of those materials is reintegrated after we produce, distribute, consume them, and dispose them as waste? How much do we actually reuse? And we can see here that rising waste levels are accompanying the rapid acceleration of consumption. Ultimately, over 90% of all materials extracted and used are wasted. So that on the flip side, only 8.6% make it back into our economy. This rate of extraction continues to threaten the planet's future and our lives on it, and forecasts paint a very grim future. So, ineffective would be an understatement. This could actually be seen as a disgrace to our intelligence as human beings. Wasted in this context means either put into landfill, so it's disposed in landfill, or being burned for heating and electricity purposes. Now, why is that important? Waste, as seen here, those 90% of wasted materials are responsible and ultimately connected to most of the environmental problems, from biodiversity loss, global warming, and air pollution to plastic soup. So that is the thing I wanted to leave you. To sum up, the picture I've painted for you today is we now understand the linear logic in our economies worldwide, or most of our economies worldwide. We acquired the knowledge of the quantity of materials that we are extracting on a global scale. We have seen that this extraction causes or is responsible for over 90% of biodiversity loss and water stress, and also that only 9% or about 9% of those materials is being used and reused or is being reintegrated into the system. Which means on the flip side that over 90% is wasted and is either put into landfill or is being burned. And we've also seen that this waste is connected to most of the environmental problems that we have today, from biodiversity loss, greenhouse gas emissions, global warming, air and habitat pollution. So that's actually the thing I wanted to leave you with. You can see here the chart of the extraction rate and use of materials that we have. Something to ponder upon. And I think now you get the picture why this is not really sustainable. Because we're actually extracting things, we produce, we distribute, we consume, and then we don't reuse them. It is discarded as waste and ends up in landfill, is being burned for heating purposes or electricity purposes, and actually there's a lot of waste generation, and we only put 9% of all materials back into our economy. So that's very ineffective, and this has to be transformed. I wanted to end here, and in the next video we're going to talk about the facts and numbers concerning the linear logic, the material extraction and the generation of waste in the light of planetary boundaries, or in other words, safe operating zones in which we as a collective should operate to avoid catastrophic consequences in the future. You can contact me for further information if you need anything. I will post my email address in the description below. And also, if you would like to conduct trainings for the circular economy, for your company, to decrease your costs in terms of materials and energy usage, you can also write me an email. Thank you all for your interest and have an awesome day. Wish you all the best and see you all in the next video.